There's a deep, heavy silence surrounding someone's life right now. And in that silence, you are the only voice echoing in their mind. While the world around them keeps moving, while conversations continue and distractions try to pull their attention, there is one constant presence they cannot escape: you. Your energy lingers. Your memory replays. Your absence feels louder than any noise they try to surround themselves with. Amelia's here. The person you've been thinking about has entered a self-imposed isolation. This isn't depression. This isn't random moodiness. This is a conscious withdrawal. They have started cutting off noise. They are no longer entertaining meaningless conversations. They are stepping back from friends who drain them. They're slowly removing themselves from environments that don't align with the future they secretly imagine. A future that includes you. Something shifted inside them recently. A realization hit. You were never just someone they met. You were never just an option. You were the destination. The kind of person people search for their entire lives without even knowing it. And now that you're not as accessible, now that you've stepped into your own space, they finally understand what you represented. At first, they tried to distract themselves. They filled their time with work. They kept themselves busy with travel, plans, social events, and other people's attention. They convinced themselves that staying occupied would make it easier to forget you. That every conversation felt shallow. Every interaction felt incomplete. Every person they met felt like a faint echo compared to the depth you brought into their life. Their world feels crowded, yet lonely. And the loneliness isn't because they lack people around them. It's because the one person who felt like home is no longer within reach. If you felt an unusual stillness in your own spirit, like a pause in the energy between you, it's because they've withdrawn from the world to process what they've lost. When someone pulls their energy inward this strongly, it creates a shift that you can sense, even without physical communication. You've been through your own season recently. You felt misunderstood. Certain plans didn't work out. Some projects fell through. Maybe people distanced themselves. It may have felt like you were being isolated, like life was stripping things away from you. You questioned whether you had done something wrong. That you weren't being punished. You were being elevated. You were being made unreachable so that your absence would finally carry weight. As long as you were present, as long as you were available, they didn't fully understand your value. Now they do. Now they feel the emptiness that comes from losing something rare. This person carries a strong presence. They're used to attention, used to admiration, used to having options. For a long time, they believed they could simply move on, that there would always be another connection, another distraction, another person to fill the gap. But the pattern broke. Every comparison led back to you. Every attempt to replace what you had only highlighted how irreplaceable you truly are. Late at night, when everything is quiet, they sit alone. I see them replaying memories, scrolling through old messages, staring at a photo, holding on to something small that reminds them of you. It might be something simple, a screenshot, a saved text, a gift, a memory tied to a certain place. But to them, it feels sacred. They are stuck on a moment when you chose yourself. Maybe you stopped responding. Maybe you called them out. Maybe you simply withdrew when you realized you deserved more. That moment shook them. Because for the first time, they encountered someone who would not tolerate less than respect. Someone who wasn't blinded by their charm. Someone who saw the real person behind the ego. Now they are questioning themselves. How did I let the only genuine connection I've ever had slip away? Why did I choose pride over something real? This is no longer a casual attraction. It has grown into obsession, not reckless obsession, but consuming awareness. They've compared you to everyone. They've measured conversations, chemistry, emotional depth. And every time you stand apart, they are tired of the distance between you. Tired of pretending they don't care. At one point, they believed silence would give them power. They thought if they stayed quiet long enough, you would reach out first. They assumed time would bend in their favor. But then they watched you continue living. They saw your growth, your glow, the way people respect you, the way admiration surrounds you naturally, whether professional, social, or romantic. You don't chase attention. You don't seek validation. You simply exist confidently in your own energy. And from afar, that terrified them, because they realize they are not the only one who sees your value. Others notice you too. Others appreciate you. And if they wait too long, someone else may step into the space they abandoned. That's when panic began to rise. They understand now that staying silent could mean losing you permanently. This isolation they're in is the final stage of realization. They are confronting their pride, confronting their fear, confronting the truth that you are not easily replaceable. This is not someone who plans to remain in the shadows. This is not a quiet admirer who will watch forever. This is someone building the courage to step forward. I see a moment approaching, a bold action, a confession that disrupts the silence, a message or gesture that shifts everything between you. It may even disrupt their old plans and force them to change direction entirely. Because this connection was never random. The distance was necessary. The separation created clarity. It forced them to see who you truly are and what you represent in their life. They know now that if they remain stuck in fear, they will lose something rare for good, and they are no longer willing to let that happen. The silence you're feeling right now is not an ending. It is the calm before a decision, and that decision is leading them back toward you. They see it clearly now. Everything is unfolding right in front of them, and for the first time, they feel the real possibility of losing you. Not temporarily, not as a game, but for good. That realization didn't arrive gently. It hit them in the chest like a sudden shock, a deep, uncomfortable awareness that you might actually move on without them. The moment they saw you smiling with someone else, something inside them cracked. When they noticed people admiring you, speaking highly of you, praising your growth, your success, the person you've become, it stirred something intense within them. Hearing your name in rooms they were standing in, watching others value you, respect you, maybe even desire you, created a sharp reaction in their heart. It wasn't jealousy in a childish way. It was fear. Fear of realizing too late what you truly mean to them. If their feelings were shallow, they would have shrugged it off. If you were just another connection, they would have felt nothing. But instead, they felt restless, unsettled, distracted. They couldn't sit still with that emotion. It lingered. It followed them into quiet moments. It showed up when they tried to sleep. That discomfort became proof that what they feel for you is real. They've been watching from a distance, quietly, checking your social media, observing your updates, trying to understand what changed. And even if the transformation isn't obvious on the surface, they feel it. Your energy is different. You're calmer, more self-contained, less reactive. There's a quiet strength in you now that wasn't there before. Or maybe it was always there, and they're only just seeing it. They can sense your detachment, your independence, the fact that you're no longer waiting in the same way. And that awareness shakes them deeply, because they are realizing that access to you is not automatic. It never was. You've been protected in ways they didn't understand before. There has been a barrier around your life, a spiritual boundary that removed them when their intentions weren't aligned. And now they're recognizing that no one gets to enter your world without your permission. Their isolation hasn't just been avoidance. It has been reflection. They've been thinking seriously, not about short-term attraction, not about ego, not about control, but about commitment, about marriage, about building something lasting. That's the shift. Their perspective is changing from temporary desire to long-term vision. They started looking at their own life differently. Their achievements, their money, their status, their plans. And suddenly, all of it feels incomplete without you beside them. They see the image clearly now, what a real partnership with you would look like. A power couple. Two strong individuals building something meaningful together. And that realization humbles them. You were the only one who truly moved them without trying. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You didn't compete. You simply existed in your truth. And that authenticity overpowered them in a way no one else ever has. What began as physical attraction has evolved into something deeper, something rooted in the soul. It's no longer about obsession in a surface-level way. It's about emotional attachment, soul-level recognition. Now they understand why they couldn't cut you off, why distance didn't erase you, why silence didn't free them, why even during separation, you remained in their thoughts. They tried to detach, but their energy kept circling back to you. Because deep down, they know you embody everything they once asked for in a partner. You already carry the qualities they were searching for: strength, depth, independence, warmth. Letting you go was never truly an option. They just delayed facing that truth. Their energy felt tangled with yours for a long time. And while they may have tried to move in other directions, nothing felt stable. Nothing felt aligned. So now they're thinking differently. They're not planning something casual. They're not thinking about temporary passion. They're considering long-term pursuit, stability, commitment. There's pressure building inside them to act soon. A big move is forming. They are reaching a point where silence feels heavier than confession. They are willing to risk distance, to risk public opinion, to risk pride, because holding everything inside has become unbearable. They were supposed to make this move earlier. They know that, but fear stopped them. Ego delayed them. Confusion clouded their judgment. They told themselves stories to justify waiting, but those stories no longer feel convincing. The illusions are breaking down, and when they finally reach out, it won't be casual. It won't be random. It will carry weight. It may come through a message, a call, or even a physical appearance. But when it happens, it will be honest, direct, raw. They will admit they've been watching from a distance. They will admit they were scared of how deeply they feel. They will admit they tried to control or suppress their emotions and failed. This isn't about weakness. It's about surrendering to truth. Your confidence, your boldness, your strong presence, that's what makes them feel alive. And they know it now. The hot and cold behavior is ending. The emotional back and forth cannot survive this level of clarity. Something inside them has permanently shifted. The silence cannot continue. The isolation cannot hold. The walls are cracking. The distance is thinning. They can't breathe comfortably in this separation anymore. And as the next emotional cycle unfolds, as time shifts just slightly forward, everything changes. The isolation breaks. The confession comes forward. And what once felt uncertain begins to move with undeniable intention. This person is preparing to make their claim on you in a real and visible way. You were the grounded one in this connection. You stayed steady, even when there may have been jealousy, gossip, or outside interference. None of that could truly shake what was meant to unfold between you two. And now they are stepping forward because they finally understand what this connection means. You didn't imagine the bond. If you had no feelings, you wouldn't still be here thinking about them. The energy between you has been mutual, even if it wasn't always expressed clearly. They feel deeply drawn to you. Yes, there is attraction and desire, but what affects them more is the emotional satisfaction they feel with you. Even during times when they pulled away or isolated themselves, you are still on their mind. You may have questioned why they distanced themselves from friends, companions, or even from you. It wasn't because they didn't care. It was because what they feel for you is serious. When someone realizes they are facing a life-changing decision, like commitment, making things official, or even marriage, they don't take it lightly. They think. They calculate. They analyze every possible outcome. They have been trying to figure out the right way to approach this without making mistakes. At some point, they understood that waiting too long could cost them everything. They know you are not someone they can risk losing. If they ignored your messages or seemed unavailable, it wasn't indifference. It was overthinking. They didn't want something temporary. They didn't want a casual connection. They want something stable and long-term, and they needed to be sure they were ready for that responsibility. There may have been outside pressures, family issues, financial concerns, personal struggles that you were not fully aware of. Those factors influenced their hesitation. But beneath all of that, their feelings never disappeared. In fact, they grew stronger. When they see others admire you, compliment you, or spend time with you, it triggers something inside them. They feel proud, but they also feel a quiet fear. The thought of someone else taking their place unsettles them deeply. They feel possessive at times, yet they try to stay rational because they respect your freedom and your life. This is not a shallow crush. It's not a temporary obsession. It's someone who sees you in their future and feels unsettled by the idea of losing you. Their love is not based only on appearance. What truly pulled them in is your personality, your presence, and the way you carry yourself. That's what made them fall harder. And now, they know they can't ignore it anymore. You carry a powerful, steady energy. There's something about you that feels complete on its own. Even without this person, you are whole. Even without them, you can smile, grow, and move forward. You may have never said this out loud, but they feel it deeply. They sense that you are not dependent on them for your happiness. You could live your life fully, with or without them. And while that makes them admire you, it also makes them feel insecure. Because the truth is, they do not feel as strong without you. When you pull back, even slightly, they feel it intensely. They feel clingy at times. They feel restless. Sometimes even lonely or emotionally lost without your presence. Your energy comforts them. When you are around, they feel calm and safe. When you are distant, they feel the emptiness. That's why this connection feels stronger to them than they are willing to admit. Deep down, they know that too much emotional dependence can become unhealthy. So they try to hide it. They try not to show how much they crave you. They attempt to control their reactions and act normal. But inside, they are incredibly grateful you chose them. Out of so many possibilities, you picked them. That alone makes them feel lucky. When you entered their life, it felt like something rare and life-changing happened. From early on, they felt this wasn't casual. Whether they expressed it or not, they sensed a future with you. In their heart, they saw you as someone they could build a life with. They imagined long-term stability. They imagined commitment. That thought didn't scare them. It felt right. Yet whenever it comes to you, their mind doesn't stay clear. They struggle to think logically. They become impulsive. Sometimes they react emotionally instead of rationally. You might have wondered why they behave in confusing ways. Why their actions sometimes don't match their words. It's because their emotions overpower their logic. They feel more than they know how to handle. What they say, what they do, and what they truly feel are not aligned. Their words might sound calm. Their actions might seem distant. But inside, their feelings are much deeper than they show. The real issue is not lack of love. It's lack of expression. They don't know how to communicate the depth of what's in their heart. The distance or silence was never meant to hurt you. It was about them understanding their own emotions. They needed time to face how serious this connection is and what they want to do about it. And now they are clearer than before. They don't want isolation anymore. They don't want distance. They want to end the emotional gap and bring stability into this connection. They're thinking about commitment. They're thinking long-term. They want to anchor this bond in something real and solid. You are never just an option. You are the person who made them realize what real connection feels like. The silence was not rejection. It was preparation. A phase where they had to confront their own heart. If you've been noticing repeated signs or feeling a shift in the air, it may be because something is moving behind the scenes. A conversation, a bold step, a change in direction. Love often builds quietly before it makes a visible move. Trust this. You are not forgotten. You are being deeply considered. And now, the energy is shifting toward clarity, stability, and something more grounded. Stay in your power. Let things unfold naturally. What is meant for you will move towards you with certainty.